Hello and welcome to the channel, and I'm here for a list video for you guys. Now for this video, I'll be going over some of my favorite concept albums of all time. I got about 6 albums here. Now this is not necessarily a top 6. These are just some albums that I randomly chose for this video, some albums that immediately come to mind when I think of some of my favorite concept albums. So this list, I don't think it's in any particular order, so let's go ahead and get started. And we'll start off with Iron Maiden, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Now, this is probably my favorite Iron Maiden album, to be honest. There was once a moment in time where it wasn't like that, because there was a moment in time where this was actually not my favorite Iron Maiden album, but over the last couple of years, it's grown on me tremendously, and now I would consider it my favorite of theirs, and it is probably their proggiest album too. So I mean, given the prog person that I am, I of course really do appreciate this album. So yeah, definitely a great album though. And this album, it doesn't have any bad track, but some of my favorite tracks on the album would have to be Can I Play With Madness, The Evil That Men Do, the title track. I mean, the title track's got that really long epic solo at the end, which is fantastic. The Clairvoyant is also a great track, but yeah, definitely a very strong album for sure. If you haven't heard this album yet, please do yourself a favor and check it out, especially if you love metal. For some reason, if you haven't heard this album yet, check it out for sure. So, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden. So next, we got Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. And this is probably my favorite Queensryche album, to be honest. It's got a really cool concept, and it has a lot going for it, and some of my favorite tracks on the album would have to be Revolution Calling, the title track, Speak, The Mission, I Don't Believe in Love, and Eyes of a Stranger. Eyes of a Stranger is maybe my favorite Queensryche song of all time, to be honest. If it's not, then it's definitely in the top 3 for me, but yeah, definitely a very strong album for sure. So Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche, that's what's coming up next on this video. So definitely a strong album, and check it out if you haven't already. If you like metal concept albums and haven't heard it yet, definitely worth checking out for sure. So next, we got Fate's Warning, A Pleasant Shade of Grey. I know that there are some people that say that this is their favorite Fate's Warning album, and you know what? I can understand why. It's not my favorite Fate's Warning album, but it would definitely be in the top 5 for me. Maybe my 4th or 5th favorite or something like that, but I wouldn't say it's my number 1, but still a very strong album for sure, and it's a very unique album in their discography too. It's one of their darkest sounding albums too, and this is basically one long epic that's separated in tracks, but some of my favorite tracks on the album would have to be parts 2, 3, 6, and the closing track. Definitely a great album for sure, and definitely one of Fate's Warning's best. So, A Pleasant Shade of Grey by Fate's Warning. Next, we got Dream Theater, Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. Definitely their best concept album, I would say. Definitely better than The Astonishing. Now, The Astonishing I do think is kind of overhated, to be honest. I don't think that that album is as bad as some people make it out to be. There is some good songs on that album, but this is definitely their best concept album without a doubt, and it's a classic for sure. But there's a lot of really great tracks on here. Strange Deja Vu, Fatal Tragedy, The Spirit Carries On, Home, and a few others. But yeah, very strong album for sure. Definitely one of Dream Theater's best. Probably my 3rd favorite Dream Theater album, but yeah, definitely a very strong album for sure. And once again, if you like metal concept albums, check out this album if you haven't heard it yet. It's a very great album for sure. So, Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory by Dream Theater. Next, we got Rush, 2112. And this album is easily one of Rush's best, at least in my opinion. I know there's a lot of people that can agree on that as well. This album is easily a top 5 contender for one of their best for sure. A top 5 Rush album is basically what it is. But yeah, it's of course got the long epic on here, the title track. It's probably one of their best songs too, and Passage to Bangkok is another really great track too. It's very catchy, one of the more accessible tracks on the album. Really, you can't really go wrong with anything off this album. I mean, it's just a prog rock masterpiece that you should just absolutely listen to. I mean, whatever it is you listen to, put that aside for a moment and give this album a listen. It's fantastic. I mean, Rush is, of course, one of the best bands of all time, in my opinion, anyway. And yeah, definitely an album that's worth checking out for sure. And yeah, definitely a very strong album and definitely one of Rush's best. So 2112 by Rush, that's what's coming up next. So lastly, for this video, we got Genesis, The Land Lies Down on Broadway. I know that this album is hit or miss for some people. I feel like most people actually really do praise this album as one of their best. And I mean, it's not my favorite Genesis album, but it's definitely far from one of their worst too. And I think it's a great album, to be honest. There's a lot of really great tracks on here, like the title track, Carpet Crawlers, and some others. But yes, very strong album for sure. The Land Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis. And if you like prog rock, haven't heard this album yet, please check it out. So yeah. So there you have it, guys. That is my video of some of my favorite concept albums of all time. So feel free to let me know what you think. What are some concept albums that you enjoy, some of your favorites of all time? What do you think of the ones that I chose for this video? Feel free to let me know your thoughts. So on that note, thanks for watching, have a nice day, and take care.